Hey guys, how is everybody doing today? Hope you guys are doing well as always. Wow, it's been over a month since I uploaded, maybe a month and a half. It's crazy. Time flies just insanely fast, and I kind of always like I don't want to just like upload, anything every day. I know that I should be more consistent with like putting stuff out, but I feel like I'm only motivated to upload a video when I'm excited to show you guys something. So I'm excited to show you guys Phantom Knights, updated Phantom Knights. I finally started playing this like in real life, and it's been 2 months. I can't believe it. I think 2 months, maybe 2.5 months since I uploaded the last Phantom Knights video. But I'm super excited to share with you guys what I have. I have something really cool, a deck that's very powerful, very consistent, because again, just like I said in the last couple of videos, Cherubini, having any 2 level 3s is just, it gets you there, you know what I mean? It might not be, any 2 level 3s might not be the full combo, but it gets you there, it gets you like Bardiche, it gets you Verte, with Dragoon. It just does enough, even bricks, even like a hand trap and like any level 3 extender. But yeah, I'm very excited to share this deck profile and the changes that I've made since the last list, because there has been quite a couple of changes. And yeah, I just want to show you guys like what this deck can do, actually, like what it could end on. So starting off with the Phantom Knights, we have 3 Torn Scales. It's your best, not the best normal summon. The best normal summon is actually Tour Guide. Tour Guide is actually an insane normal summon. This is the safer normal summon because you discard something and there's a chance that you might discard something useful to the graveyard, whereas Tour Guide, if she gets stopped, it hurts more. But Torn Scales is by far the best Phantom Knights card ever printed. Not only do you get a starter, but you get an extender, and it's just awesome. It's so good. Yeah, definitely a 3 of. This is definitely one of the cards you want to open up consistently. And then for the other 3 of is Boots. Boots is, I run it at 3 because it's an extender, and chances are, like, even if you draw this with no Phantom Knights, you're gonna make Bardiche, somewhere in the combo, obviously, and then you could just special summon him then. And most of the time I actually special summon him only when Bardiche hits the field, because I search him with Cloak, which is next. I also like these 2 cards along with the Ragged Gloves. Like, if you hard brick, I'm talking about you draw one of these, just one, and like, for example, like 3 Ash Blossom and like no extenders, you can at least, just by opening one, just like either this or this, you'll at least end with Dragoon. But that rarely happens, but it can happen. But anyway, so just 2 Cloak. This was 3. This was actually a 2 or a 3 of in my other list. But I found that 2 is definitely enough, because it's okay to open with this card and it's okay to open with this, but other than that, it's, you'd rather like just send it off of Bardiche and then banish it to search Boots. Same thing with Gloves. If you have access to Cloak, then you could just send Gloves instead. If you, depends what you send with Torn Scales earlier on in the combo. But that's it for the Phantom Knights monsters. I believe that this is definitely the correct ratio. You could mess around with like 2 Boots, but I like 3. The other normal summon, again, like I mentioned before, it's the best normal summon because Tour Guide allows you to skip a step. And by that I mean that if you open Torn Scales and you discard a card, to discard Cloak, banish Cloak, search Boots, special Boots, and then go into Cherubini, you usually dump the Graph to summon the Seer from the deck. But with Tour Guide, you actually summon the Graph directly from the deck, and that means that you can summon something. You could send something else with Cherubini, so she allows you to actually extend even further. That's what makes her so strong. If you open like Tour Guide up and any extender, it's actually like a really strong board. The board is with like you know, just Tour Guide and any other extender. Usually the boards I'll end with is Bardiche, Bardiche, Verte, IP, and Dragoon. And I'll have Breaksword and Grave, so that way when I IP, I can bring back Breaksword to get a pop with Bardiche, and I'll have one Fogblade. So you'll have like 5 interruptions consistently with this deck, and it's really strong. But Tour Guide and any extender gets you. So I feel like that's the minimum like amount of resources that you would use for that full combo. For the BAs, I have one Graph, one Seer, and then I added one Libic. Before I actually, I think I was playing 2 of each, or like 1 and 2 or something like that, because if you draw one, you want to be able to still resolve Cherubini, but I found that was actually like not the best idea, and actually Libic is a really good addition, because Libic is actually, if you draw like Seer or Graph, you could send Libic with Cherubini and then summon whatever the one that you drew. And what's cool is that it negates their effect. So like, even if like say you drew Foolish Burial, and you know, with Cherubini you could send something else, and then you could Foolish Libic to you know, get one of these guys out. It's fine too. But yeah, that is it for the, I guess, the BA package with Tour Guide. For the extenders, we have the best extender, Kagamucha Knight. Definitely play this card at 3, because there's the infamous play with Tour Guide, Normal Summon Tour Guide effect, and then chain Kagamucha. But what's awesome about Kagamucha is that even if you draw Kagamucha and like an Ash Blossom or a terrible normal summon, like even if you draw, say, like Boots and Kagamucha, you could normal summon Boots, special Kagamucha, and still combo off. And even if you draw 2 Kagamucha, you can normal summon one and then special the other. So I really like that you can, like, it has very little restrictions, and it's a dark, it's a level 3, it's a warrior. It has everything going for it as being a great extender in this deck. 2 Junk Forward. I liked Junk Forward because it actually gives your normal summon insurance, and by that I mean you could special it when you control no monsters. And then that way, if you normal summon Tour Guide afterwards, and it gets ashed or impermed or veilered, you can still combo off because you have 2 level 3. Same thing with Torn Scales. If they like hand trap Torn Scales, and you have Junk Forward, you still have 2 level 3, so you could still combo off. Similar to Kagamucha, you can special summon 1 Junk Forward and then normal summon the other if you open up both. So you could still combo off with 2 Junk Forward, which is awesome. I love cards like that have very like little to no restrictions. The 2 Dangers, I was never playing these before, but I found that they're definitely nice extenders, and they're darks, and you just play these 2 because they're 3s, and then Jackalope, if they hit Jackalope, you could special Snake from the deck. And it's nice because you get the draw, so you might draw into more extenders. And then for the last 3 extenders is Wielder, Tracker, and then I play Ejim Sabers. Ejim Sabers is actually really good because when you draw Red Eyes Fusion, which does happen often, you can't go your full combo because you draw Red Eyes Fusion, but because you have access to this card in your deck, you're able to put that Red Eyes Fusion back and then extend with this card. So it's really it has that really strong purpose of being an extender, and at the same time putting that brick back into the deck. And you could also put like cards like Fogblade, because you're gonna set Fogblade anyway, so you could put Fogblade back. Or if you draw like double Ash Blossom, you could put 1 Ash Blossom back. It's really good. It's a really good card to have access to in this deck, and I definitely recommend playing this the card. For the only hand trap I play is Ash Blossom. I kind of want to play, I mean, you could, you know, play 3 more hand traps, but I just decided to go with Ash because it's a level 3. Again, you could combo with this card, and it also hits everything. I decided to play like other cards as opposed to playing more hand traps, and I feel like the deck performs just very well. Everything's in the side deck. Everything you need for games 2 and 3 are in the side deck, so I'd rather be able to play the game and not brick on multiple hand traps and have no plays, as opposed to you know, playing more hand traps and and actually bricking. So I decided to go with like more extenders, like, you know, the Edgem Sabers, the Libic, just like junk forwards, because not everybody plays those cards. You won't see junk forward in a lot of lists. You'll see Libic. You won't see Edgem Sabers. You'll see him in some lists, but not every list. And then the Red Ice, the Dragoon package. Dragoon is just insane in this deck. Just really good because during your combo, you actually, with boots, you rarely set double Fog Blade. You actually search wings and you discard the wing. Actually, I'll show you guys the combo. The combos are like really good. And then I play Droplets. Droplets is insane in this deck because like you could discard like today, for example, like just online, I was going against a Pendulum player, and he ended with four negates, right? He ended with 4 negates. He had the Endymion guy that negates a Speller Trap, and he had Jackal that negates monster effects. He had IP, so that was another disruption. He could have potentially went into an Appaloosa. And then he had something else. I totally forgot what the other card was, but he had like 4 to 5 disruptions. And with Droplets, I discarded 4, and I still OTK'd, because you discard 4, you negate, and then you use the cards in the graveyard as resources. Plus, again, I had E-Telly, and I had another card to combo off with. And yeah, it was just Dragoon, pop, and then attack for game. It was really good. So yeah, Droplets is definitely, if you have them, definitely play them in the deck. And then for the very powerful one-ofs is a Reinforcement of the Army, because it searches all your Phantom Knights and your extenders too. Foolish, believe it or not, I see people cutting this card. I don't know why. This card is like, if they stop your Torn Scales, if they stop whenever you send like Graph off Cherubini, if they ash the Graph, you could still combo off because you have Foolish Burial. It's just insane. I'm not sure why people cut this. A Monster Reborn is another good extender. You could argue that it's not necessary, but I like it just because it just allows you to push through hand traps and be able to play the game. And then E-Telly for the Tracker and the Wielder. Again, just very good extender because it doesn't require like a normal summon, and it could just summon it from the deck, and it's a second copy of Tracker and a second copy of Wielder. That is it for the spells. So we have, not counting Red Ice Fusion, you have like 7 spells, which is not many. So for the Phantom Knights traps, we have 3 Fog Blade, self-explanatory, just great extender, negates. And I think every Phantom Knights player plays it at 3 just because you burn through them very quickly. I decided to play Wings, not for the... I never set this card. It's basically so I don't have to use a Fog Blade to banish and to summon, you know, something from the grave. Like, I don't want to have to send a Fog Blade just to extend when I could send Wings. Also in the combo, when you end the combo, you actually end with this in hand, because you discard it off Dragoon, and that way you can revive a Phantom Knight. I also decided to play the 1 Brigandine, because this is how you have a 1-card Dragoon combo in case you brick, because you use this to make Link Spider, and that's how you get an effect monster for Reverte. And then the last trap I play is 1 Imperial Order. So the only cards that get affected by this are the 4 one-ofs. These are the only cards that get affected by this, and if you drew any of these cards like turn 0, you're gonna, you know, resolve them obviously before you activate this. This card doesn't actually get hurt by this because Droplets can send this card for cost. So Droplets is not hurt by this. If you need to get rid of this because you value the monster negation, then you could just send this for cost and be able to resolve Droplets. So Droplets does not get hurt by Imperial Order, so you literally only have 4 cards that get hurt by it. Red Ice Fusion, you send off Verte, so that doesn't count. So that is it for the main deck, guys. It is 44 cards, I think. 44, I'm not sure. So for the links, obviously the Bardiche, just a great card. It's not the best card in the extra deck. I would argue like that Cherubini is definitely by far the strongest extra deck monster. Just like Isolde is the strongest extra deck monster for like every warrior deck that wants to combo off. Without Isolde and without Cherubini, the decks can't really do what they can. But yeah, Bardiche is just awesome because it sends your Phantom Knight, it sets up your grave, and it sets Fogblade, and it has that pop effect that's really good. Plus the arrows are amazing. So let's go over the Link ones. I just skipped to, just because I had Bardiche in the front, so I figured I'd just get that out of the way. So Link Spider and Almiraj for the 1-card Dragoon combo. It seems weird to play 2 cards specifically for a combo that you're rarely going to do. But Link Spider is actually very relevant because when they hit you with Nibiru, you're able to use the token for Link Spider and get an effect monster, and that way you could hopefully still make Verte. Almiraj also has another use, I guess both of them do, for Access Code Talker because they're Earth and Fire, so you get more pops with Access Code when you do summon it. For the Link 2s, the best card, like I mentioned before, in the extra deck is Cherubini. Without Cherubini, you can't do the combos that you can do because it's any level 3s, any 2 level 3s, and you're able to just end with Bardiche and Dragoon. Yeah, it's just an insane card. Better than Dante, cents for cost, but you choose the level 3 that you send, which is amazing. IP has a big role in the end of the combo because with IP, you can either make Appaloosa or 2 other, or Appaloosa, Access Code, or another card that I'm going to show you guys, which is like a little spicy, but it is really good because you get to choose, depending on the matchup, what to go into, and both serve just very strong roles. So IP is definitely necessary. And then for the other Link 2 is Verte for the Dragoon. And then for the Link 3, besides Bardiche, you have 1 Unicorn, because you could also go into Unicorn with IP if you need to spin something back, and just having that removal is amazing. And being able to use this for Access Code, that's how you get Access Code to 5300. So definitely 1 Unicorn. It's a dark, so you could still summon it even when you're locked in after Breaksword. For the Link 4s, we have the Appaloosa. Again, depending on the matchup, you might value the 2 monster negates off Appaloosa, and then it can't be destroyed by card effects, obviously, because of IP. And then the Access Code Talker, just to push, pop. And then here's the spicy Link 4 that I play. It's actually Unchained Abomination. And the reason that you play this card is because depending, again, as I mentioned before, depending on the matchup, if it's a control, like heavy back row matchup, then what's really cool is that you can summon this and trigger it off after you summon your Bardiche. I mean your Breaksword. So what you do is you banish the Fogblade or Phantom Knight's wings, and then you summon your Breaksword underneath Bardiche, his arrow. You get the pop, and then it triggers Abomination to pop another card, and then if they happen to leave cards during the end phase, you get to pop more cards. So I believe that Abomination is definitely a very powerful card to have in the extra deck, especially since you have space in this version. Because I don't play the rank up stuff, because I found that Verte Dragoon is actually it's an easier engine to get into, and it's a more powerful engine because Dragoon's an Omni Negate, whereas like if you summon Requiem is insane against combo decks because you'll negate, destroy, and get an Xyz monster out of your graveyard, but the thing is, you're not always going to be playing against combo. So I figured that Dragoon, I value having Dragoon because it's an Omni Negate, and it's really tough to deal with for a lot of players. So moving on to the Xyz, double Breaksword, definitely 2 minimum. Because during your combo you burn through 1, and then obviously you want to have 1 for a follow-up. Just an awesome card. Removal, and it special summons 2 from the graveyard when it gets destroyed, so it's really nice. Plus again, it is part of your interruption during your opponent's turn, having this in your graveyard, so that's why it's important to be able to summon this during your turn. It's Ding Girsu, put it that way. It's Ding Girsu for your deck. It's like if you had, Orcus players, they want to have Ding engraved so that way they could banish Skeleton to summon Ding and send something. It's not as strong, obviously, but this is your Ding Girsu in the deck. And then for the other Xyz, rank 3 is Levier. You always summon this during your combo. This is the way you manage your graveyard resources, and actually have a level 3 4 break sword while using this as food for Verte. And for the last Xyz, and it's the only rank 4, is Evil Swarm Nightmare. It's just a nice option to have. I'll be honest with you, it's the least card I go into in the extra deck. I go into everything in this deck, in this extra deck, more than I go into Nightmare. And Nightmare is actually okay. So Nightmare is, I'm not sure when I would choose summoning Nightmare over like Appaloosa. It's very specific matchups, very specific matchups. But the thing is, like, most matchups that you summon this against, Appaloosa will do a good job as well. So sometimes I feel like this isn't as necessary. And also when you pop say Break Sword during your combo, and then you revive the 2 Phantom Knights, they're level 4s, but sometimes you want those Phantom Knights engraved because, say, for example, one of them is Boots, and you want to be able to banish Boots to search. So summoning Evil Swarm Nightmare sometimes isn't the best, and you like 99.9% of the time you're going IP. But say they break your board, and the following turn you're able to summon Bardiche, use its effect, and you can at least set up more interruptions with Nightmare, with Evil Swarm Nightmare, if you can OTK them. So if you can OTK, this is another nice option. But it is very strong, don't get me wrong. It's very strong against like Virtual World and decks that need face-up monsters, obviously, to like link summon and do stuff. And then the last card, obviously, is Dragoon. Again, just a very, very powerful card. Definitely recommend playing this deck with Dragoon, but if it's not your cup of tea, you could always play the rank up stuff, and the rank up stuff is definitely fun. So I want to show you guys I want to show you guys the combo that I'm talking about. This combo can definitely be done with different cards depending on what your hand looks like. But I just want to show you guys what you can do with Tour Guide and like any level 3 extender. Could be any level 3 extender, and you'll be able to get to this board. But again, this is definitely attainable through other methods, having other cards in your hand, like alongside Torn Scales and cards of that nature. But for just the purpose of showing you the combo and what this deck can consistently end on, we'll just use these 2 as an example. So normal summon Tour Guide, we're going to activate the effect, and we will summon the Graph from deck. And then we have our 2 level 3s. You could special summon the Tracker here. We'll just special it here. So what I'll do is I'll keep the Tour Guide on the field just because it's a dark. I want to, just in case like something happens and say they ash the Graph, I can still go into Bardiche using the Tour Guide, whereas if I left the Tracker on the field, I wouldn't be able to. So I like to leave a dark on the field just because of that purpose, or that reason. So we're going to summon the Seer. That's going to trigger Graph. Graph is going to summon the Seer from deck. And then we're going to use the effect of Cherubini here. You don't actually have to use the effect right away. You can actually link off into Bardiche first. And then Seer's going to bring back the Cherubini. Like, even if you actually, I don't recommend doing that, because obviously they could probably, like, they could DD Crow this card. Or they can use Skullmeister, and that way you lose. But I'm just saying, if you misplay, right? It's not really a misplay, because technically you could still do the play. But it is a misplay in the sense, like, it's not a safe play. So you want to resolve Cherubini and not get hit with Skullmeister or DD Crow later. Anyway, using Cherubini's effect, we're going to send the Cloak. Okay, and the reason you send Cloak, again, is because if you send Torn Scales... If you send Torn Scales and then expect your Bardiche to resolve, you're going to cry because Torn Scales is absolutely dead in the graveyard. Whereas if they do hand trap your Bardiche, you can still resolve Cloak by banishing the Search Boots. So that's why you send Cloak first, so don't do it the other way. So then we're going to summon the Bardiche, one of the MVPs in the extra deck. Seer hit the grave, so we're going to summon the Cherubini back. It's really awesome that Cherubini comes back because it's link material for Verte. Since IP, you know, you can't use link monsters for IP. We're going to use Bardiche. Now we can send the Torn Scales. So if you had any... oh, and right now... so if you had like any other cards in hand, you can, you know, use Torn Scales effect to discard and send something else. But in this case, because we're only playing with 2 cards, I just want to show you what you can do with, you know, these 2 cards. So we're going to send the Torn Scales because now it's going to act as an extender once we banish the Cloak. And we're going to set a Fog Blade. All right. And let's see. So now we're going to banish the Cloak to search Boots. Okay, because Boots is going to act as another extender. And that's going to trigger Torn Scales because a Phantom Knights was banished. We can summon the Torn Scales. Again, you don't need to resolve. Like, I don't need to discard this card. I can discard this card and then send Gloves. And then Gloves brings, like, this card back. But it's basically burning through your resources in your deck for no reason. So we're just going to special the Boots here. And then here you can just go Levier, right? So Levier, again, is very important because it brings back our Cloak. So we're going to detach the Boots. And it's also a level 3 that we need to... Excuse me, I keep bumping into the tripod. So we're going to summon the Cloak. So that's going to be our level 3, obviously, to go into our Break Sword. We're going to activate Cloak because it does have the effect to boost up Bardiche by 800. So if Ogre... Well, if Ogre was relevant, they would have Ogred a long time ago, but that's the only card that really hurts this combo, I guess. Like, it's not necessary for you to do this, but also you don't want them to easily beat over Bardiche because Bardiche does act as part of disruption during your opponent's turn. So Cloak effect, switch the defense, boost him up by 800 until the end of your opponent's turn, so he's at 29. And now we have our 2 level 3s to go into the Break Sword. And now we're it's gonna trigger Bardiche since some Dark Xyz was summoned to Link Pointer. Bardiche is actually gonna pop the Break Sword, and then Break Sword's gonna trigger to summon the Boots and the Cloak back. And then with these 2 cards, we make the Verte. And then with these 2 cards, we make the IP. And now we're going to banish the Boots. We're going to search Wings because Wings is going to be what we discard for Dragoon's Negate. You don't want to search the Fog Blade because then you're burning through Fog Blades for no reason. And lastly, we're going to resolve Verte to... We're going to pay 2k, send Red Eyes Fusion, Dark Magician to summon the Dragoon. And here, guys, we end with, again, an Omni Negate, a Fog Blade, that's 2 interruptions, and then IP can either go into Appaloosa for 2 more monster disruptions, and then we'll discard this with Dragoon, so we could revive the Break Sword, and that's going to trigger Bardiche to pop a card. So you have 5 disruptions with this combo, and it's a very strong combo. Again, depending on what you're playing against, during your opponent's turn, you're going to negate with Dragoon. And if they're playing like a combo deck, then you go into your Appaloosa for 2 more monster negates, and then you negated something with Dragoon, that's 3 interruptions, and then you have the Fog Blade for your 4th monster negate, and then you're going to banish the Wings, and you're going to summon the Break Sword here, so that way Bardiche gets a pop, again, as a quick effect during your opponent's turn for your 5th disruption. So yeah, that's your 5 disruption board. Now, alternatively, you can, instead of going the Appaloosa play, like I mentioned before, if it is a like controlled deck, then sometimes you actually might value the pops more because it's a 3k body that they can't beat over, and or it's difficult to beat over it. And then on top of that, you'll actually get 2 pops, one during the main phase or end phase or whatever phase when Breaksword gets summoned and Bardiche pops something that's going to trigger the effect of Abomination to pop another card, and then during the end phase you get another pop, so you actually get 2 more removal with the Unchained Abomination. It's still 4 disruptions, and then during the end phase it's another form of removal, or another card removed from your opponent's side of the field. So you get 3 pops, an Omni Negate and a Monster Negate, as opposed to the 2 Monster Negates, a pop. So instead of the 2 Monster Negates, you get 2 pops, which is really good because, again, it's better against, like, you know, face-up spells and traps. It's good against back row, like any back row player that just sets 5 and passes, or it's just really good against those decks. So yeah, it's I like this because I found that this, dropping cards all over the place, I found that I needed something that would be, like, I wanted the deck to be decent against control as well as combo. I didn't want to just have Dragoon as my only, like, Omni Negate, even though it is the only Omni Negate, but Abomination does serve as not a negate, but it hits back row. You know what I mean? It hits back row, as opposed to Appaloosa that just, you know, hits the monster, just negates monster effects. So yeah, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you guys think. If you do play this deck, feel free to leave, you know, any suggestions, or just like just your take on it and your opinion towards, you know, just playing the deck and how the deck should be played. I feel like this is definitely one of the stronger versions of the deck. Again, opinions might differ. Hope you guys enjoyed. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Take care and peace.